I have some huge news for you because there's an all-new AMG car in town, and it's this, the 2024 Mercedes-AMG C63 E-Performance. I know it's a long name, but it's a lot of car. So in this video, I'm going to share all the specs on this car with you, and yeah, you will see what it's like. There's a lot of great news. There's also some bad news. If you are a fan of the V8, well, folks, the V8 is no more in this car. So it's going to be powered with a plug-in hybrid system. That's where E-Performance part of the name comes in. And I'm just going to roll some of this footage so you can kind of see the car, see some of the details. I also have driving footage of the car. And the car you're seeing here is the European model. It's also coming to the US, but it is a 2024 model, so it's going to take a little while for this car to get here. And it's using as a basis a 2-liter M139 turbocharged engine, which by itself is the most powerful 4-cylinder engine out there. And the power numbers are 469 horsepower and 402 pound-feet of torque. So out of 2 liters for a production car. And so here's some of the more driving footage of it. So by itself, that engine is already quite powerful, but of course that's not enough. It's combined with an electric motor. And these are the numbers that are shocking. Combined numbers, you could see it right here. According to Mercedes, this is not me, 671 horsepower and 752 pound-feet of torque. This is including the boost feature. So there's going to be a boost feature where the electric motor is kind of in overdrive, the turbocharger is pulled up and it's going all the way. And this is, you know, should be just earth-shattering power. You can kind of see some of the dashboard playing around here. But of course, the style is new too, but the car is not the same as a standard C-Class. You may have seen Roman's review of the new C-Class already, but Mercedes did something I think quite remarkable, because they have managed to really stretch the car in almost every direction. So the front is about 3.3 or 2 inches longer. The car itself is about 3.3 inches longer overall. It's also 3 inches wider than the standard C-Class in the back, as far as a wider track. So the footprint of this car is quite a bit larger. You can kind of see the rear wheels are really pushed out to the corners. The nose is a little bit longer. And it has a full hybrid system, which means it can be driven in electric-only mode. It can be driven, of course, in gasoline and electricity save mode, and it can use all the power at once for maximum performance. I want to show you here another diagram, so bear with me just a tiny bit. Let me see. Here it is. So the diagram of the actual powertrain. Let me make this larger for you. Here it is. So this kind of explains it in a diagram form. So there's a 4-cylinder engine up front. There's a transmission, which is the speed shift transmission. Then there's a drive shaft going back to the rear transaxle, so to speak. Then there's a 2-speed, so there's an electric motor in there. There's a 2-speed transmission within that drive unit. And then there's a battery as well. The battery is 14 kilowatt hours. Sorry, there's so many notes that I have to actually follow notes. I'm sorry, the battery is 6.1 kilowatt hours. 6.1 kilowatt hours. So it's not a huge battery. For example, a plug-in hybrid vehicle like a Jeep system, the 4xe system, has about 14 to 15 kilowatt hours. This is quite a bit smaller because it has to fit kind of over the rear transaxle and still leave the room for passengers and of course things in the trunk. So you can kind of see how it's laid out. So because the electric drive unit is attached really to the system, it can also be driven on electricity alone. So this is quite complex, but this is the latest system they call, of course, as you can see, E-Performance. Whew, that's a lot. So let me take a breath. Uh, so we have a few other things I wanted to share. Well, this is other vehicles, of course, in this system as well. There's a special separate plug for the battery. So they're saying basically it could be charged basically AC charging. So not super fast charging, but it's a small battery. So you really don't need high speed. Even at home, you could probably charge it within an hour or two. So they didn't specify charging times at this point. So we don't have that information right now. But they did say performance figures, they stated 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds. So this is a quick car. And it's not all electric. It's still using, you know, this combination of internal combustion and electricity altogether for this car. And also, of course, updated styling. You could see a lot of big air intakes, big air exhausts, and there's another one in the hood. I like this feature. Let me show you up here. So you can kind of see the hood has this sculpting in it, and there's another vent that goes out towards the windshield. And of course, yeah, standard AMG face, which let me know if in the comments below if you really like their recent styling or not. In the back, I just wanted to mention before we go to the other details, this is something they call a quad exhaust system, but it's called two trapezoidal externally ribbed dual tailpipe trims. So this is what Mercedes calls it. But so you can kind of see that silver bit, which is basically dual exhaust system, one on each side. And then in the trim, they made look like quad exhaust pipes, which is kind of a signature of the AMG car. So there's a lot going on here. Now, let's talk about brakes. Brakes are, of course, pretty special. 6 piston up front, a single floating piston in the back. So there's still a lot of braking performance. And then, let me see, there's lots of drive modes. I have to use my notes because this is quite insane. Well, first of all, there's electric mode, battery hold mode, which saves the battery for later. Comfort mode, sport mode, of course, kind of prepares the engine and spools it up a little bit more. Sport Plus, and race. And then, of course, there's this boost mode, which gives entire power of the electric motor, which is about 201 horsepower, for up to 10 seconds. So it's basically kind of an overboost feature, but using electricity. And then there's also 4 levels of regen, 0 basic coasting, kind of level 1, level 2, and level 3 for stronger regen, so you can put energy back into the battery. And they're actually using a lot of technology from Formula F1. Obviously, Mercedes has been very successful with Lewis Hamilton and team and Formula F1, and they're using a lot of learnings that they took from the motorsports, and they're putting it back into this car, which is a production road-going car. Also can be used on the track, as you can see here. Here's the rear wing, poking up, very nice. Badging, C63 AMG. By the way, and Case is behind the camera, he reminded me that 63 used to mean displacement.
Used to be a 6.3 V8.
Yeah, so of course we're living in new times, so nothing makes sense anymore because Mercedes is not alone in using kind of older names and brands in the new way. You know, BMW is doing similar things and many others. So yeah, there you have it. So then you're probably wondering about some of the other drive modes. Well, there is, of course, you know, all that with the suspension. You can control also the damping. It's active, so it's kind of adjusting to the conditions of the car. Pricing is not available yet because we'll have to wait later to 2023 until we actually see this car in the US and it goes to production, and because it is a 2024 model. So here you can see a little bit more of the interior, which is kind of very similar to what Mercedes is doing now in some of the other cars. You know, that center stack kind of floating up in the air, rounded vents, of course, flat bottom steering wheel, lots of interesting stitching, lots of premium materials, ambient color, your mode selectors and displays here in the steering wheel. So a lot of that technology is going to be here as well. Yep, like I said, pricing is not available yet, but this is your brand new C63S E-Performance Mercedes-AMG car. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you appreciate this type of technology all wrapped up into your sedan, or would you rather see something else, maybe so they can keep the V8 around, or do you want them to go all electric? Let me know in the comments below. I'll see you in the next one, and check out alltfl.com for everything automotive, one-stop shop right there.